numbers are represented in two formats. One is analog and the other is digital. And analog numbers are those numbers which are continuous in nature. So, for example, if I'm speaking and you are able to visualize the electronic waveform of my voice, and it comes out to be like this. This is continuous, right? Sometimes I speak loud, sometimes I don't speak too loud, and sometimes I'm silent. So you can say these are the voltage levels. But this quantity is called an analog quantity because this is continuous. If I draw the same quantity in digital format, it will be drawn something like this. So now you see that if you pay attention to the waveform, you can see that these lines collectively they look very similar to this waveform, but now they have discontinuities, and these discontinuities are called the digital format for the same analog signal, right? So all the computer now what the computer does is the computer takes this quantity, this discrete quantity, which is in decimal number format. For example, this value is 9, so it will convert that 9 to binary and store into its memory. But the computer is not able to store the analog quantity directly. It is not possible for the computer to store the analog type of quantities directly. So first, these quantities are digitized in this way, and then for each decimal number, a binary equivalent is stored inside the computer. So that is the whole story of computer, and that is truly called data representation. And we have already seen what binary system is. One particular, digit of the binary system, which is 0 or 1, is called a bit, and 8 of these bits written together as a number is called a byte. Again, these are standard universal definitions, what a bit is, what a byte is. So if I ask you what this is, you will say this is 1 bit, right? And if I ask you what is this, you will say that these are 4 bits. And if I ask you what is this, you will say that these are 8 bits, or this is 1 byte. Any questions? Okay. So let's look at another way of understanding this, that a binary 1 is like you can also understand a bit by a switch which is turned on, that means it's 1, and the switch when turned off, it is representing the number 0. And this is an example which they have shown over here. This is something which is called the ASCII code, the ASCII table, which is short for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. And let me show you this table. Here you can see that ASCII codes are, by the way, they are standardized by the IEEE, which is an organization which is responsible for providing standards for everything you use, like Wi-Fi or 4G or everything. All of those are under, and all the digital revolution. This is all of this is standardized by an organization, international organization, which is short Institute of Electronics and Electrical Engineers, IEEE, right? So IEEE is a famous organization, and actually really really important. So ASCII codes were standardized by them, and here you can see that if you are typing the letter A anywhere in the world, if a person types the letter A, it is standardized by the ASCII codes that it is going to be stored inside the computer in this format: 1000001. You can say this is the phone number for letter A. And for example, letter Q, for letter Q, the binary number in the whole wide world, wherever you use computers, like phones, your keyboards, smartphones, anywhere you go, the letter Q is always stored in the computers in this binary format: 1010001. No one can change this. No one should change this. Why? Because everyone wants to, work together and work on the same machines. So we never change this. And you can see over here that ASCII codes are actually available for special symbols like brackets, exclamation mark, space, numbers, all the letters of English language, small letters, capital letters, and then there come there are also ASCII codes for international languages like Arabic, Japanese, Chinese, Urdu, but they are not listed over here. But the basic ones are these. This is an example of you can say number of bits. For letter E, the 8 bit or the byte looks something like this: 01000101. and for the symbols asterisk or star, you can say the ASCII code is 00101010, and for 8-bit byte for number 6 is the 00110110. uh, and when you talk about programs, as you have asked, so when we write programs, uh, when we write programs, we also write code in English language. So that English language is again translated using these ASCII codes, and then it is what we call compiled into a binary format. And again, it's a long process. So all of this, what we have discussed over here, is also shown in this slide, where you can see that you have when you type, for example, the letter T with your keyboard. So this T is actually brought into the from the keyboard into the and the keyboard generates a scan code in opposition to an ASCII code. So the scan code is slightly different. It is dependent on the keyboard design. That scan code is received by the computer, and that scan code is then translated into the the ASCII code, the ASCII binary code, you can say. For example, for letter T, this is the ASCII code 01010100, and then that number or that by ASCII code is stored inside the memory for processing. And after it is processed, it is given a letter shape of T using pixels, and it is converted into an image and displayed on the output device. So here you can see that the T is being displayed on the screen using graphical representation of the letter T using pixels and drawing it as an image, right? So other things you need to know about the hardware side, which we need to finish today, is that the memory consists of electronic components that store instructions and data both at the same time. And so the applications are the things which allow us to convert data into information and give them back to the person. And if you want to visualize memory can be visualized as a two-dimensional uh, array or two-dimensional list of spaces. Here you can see in this picture that they are trying to you know compare an auditorium seating space with memory locations. So for example, the name of this seat is J20 and the name of this seat is J21. So you can say that the memory location J20 is right now empty. No program is using this space in memory, and while the memory location J21 is being used by a program, it is being occupied. And so one thing you learn here is that J20 and J21 are addresses of these locations, while having no data or having some data. So this person could be person ABC, any person, uh, but the addresses remain same. So the addresses for these locations will remain same. Like this will be J20 forever. This will be J21 forever. Some person will come in and go. Some other will come in and go. But this address of this location will remain the same forever. Then there are two types of memory, like volatile or non-volatile. We discussed a lot on this earlier. And all of these devices you can see over here are non-volatile. These are hard disks and hard drives. And while the RAM is the volatile memory. So how do program instructions transfer in and out of RAM? So all the programs are stored on the hard drive. And when the user double clicks a program, that program is brought into the RAM, and that operating system generates an interface for you to look at that application and interact with that application or app. Similar thing happens for browsers or some other application like Paint application. There are two types of RAM. If you go, so let me show you the RAM that I'm using in my system, in my computer. So here you can see that if you go in Windows 10, it's really convenient. If you go to the performance tab, you will be able to see the memory type. So here you can see that the memory type is, so here you can see SODIMM. This is the technology that the RAM inside my laptop is made up of. This is the size of RAM my laptop has, 12 gigabytes. This is the memory that I'm currently using, 5.3 gigabytes, and available is 6.4 gigabytes. And you can see the CPU information, stuff like that, GPUs, but we're talking about memory. So there are two types of RAMs, dynamic RAM and static RAM. And Here you can see the comparison between different types of RAMs. And let me tell you something, the table progresses from top to bottom in a particular way, and that way is actually what decides the price increasing from top to bottom. The RAMs in this area are slower but cheaper. The RAMs in this area are more expensive and faster. And actually, these belong to the older era of computers. These belong to the newer era of computers. So then there are actually one RAM module is made up of smaller memory modules called memory chips. And then there is another type of memory which is really important. I briefly told you about that memory the last time, and that was the memory cache. And cache is something which can be present inside the processor and sometimes out of the processor on the motherboard. And that is a memory which facilitates the operations of RAM and CPU, RAM and processor. And that memory is called cache memory, and much more expensive than RAM per byte. But that's why it is quite less in quantity inside the CPU. But the bigger the better. So I made a statement the last time that the cache size, as big as it is under a specific bound, it will be very good for your system. So the CPUs that come with a big amount of cache memories are really expensive as compared to the ones which don't. Then there is the ROM memory, which refers to semiconductor chips which can store data without the need of electricity, also called flash memory. This is the technology on which your USB flash drives are based, or your phone multimedia card, SD card is based on, or your internal memory of your internal storage of your phone is based on. This is just a technology which I would say revolutionized everything, because another new thing which is called as an SSD, the solid state drive, which is a replacement for these mechanical hard disks, because these mechanical hard disks used to rotate on very high speed, so they used to become unresponsive, these media surfaces, so we had to throw them away and buy new ones. But SSDs are much faster, much faster, although they also have a life. But SSDs are based on the same flash memory concept that you see over here, which is called the read-only memory. Then if you want to expand the functionality or add some features to your computer, you can install adapter cards or on the expansion slots that are available in your computer. So these white bars you can see, these are the expansion slots. We have different technology names like PCI Express, or ISA used to be a very old one. And then you can install different types of feature cards like sound cards, video cards, video processing cards, or video capture cards, or even some scientific cards if you want to perform scientific experiments using your computer. And then there are USB adapters which also add functionality to your computer. Like for example, your computer doesn't have Bluetooth adapter, so you can plug in the Bluetooth USB adapter to add Bluetooth to your computer. And similarly, the computer, all the data and information is traveled inside the computer using what we call a bus. So a bus is something which you know uh, takes the data from the CPU to memory and from memory to CPU, and then between the IO devices. So here you can see that they have you know uh, given an example that the bus is like motorway, and the motorway has here you can see that it has 8 lanes, but so 8 cars can travel at the same speed at the same time in parallel on this motorway, which is called the bus. While this is true, another thing is true about the buses inside computers, which is a bunch of wires actually, and nothing more than that. And that is that these number of wires, like these parallel cars, will be used to be 32 in systems which came to us between 1990s and up to mid late 2000s. But then we switched to 64 lane motorways inside our computer, so now we have 64-bit computers, right? So, and then there are some other types of buses, like the system bus, backside bus, expansion bus. I'm going to skip this one because it's really too much. We don't need to go into this much detail. But these are different types of motorways, you can say, which are installed between different types of devices. So that's why they have different names. A power supply or a power adapter, AC adapter, converts the wall outlet AC power into DC power, comes into different sizes and shapes and power. A battery, you can see, comes into different sizes, shapes, and capacity. Normally, these are lithium ion batteries, which are rechargeable. They can be used for a long period of time, and they have long life. And depends on the size, how much backup they're going to give you. So that was all there is to know about computers and the hardware related to computer. So any questions?